think the most important thing that I'll just kind of push out a little bit is where is that in their goal planning, right? What's the most important thing to them? You don't just ignore all your other goals to then fund the 529 unless you say this is absolutely the most important thing for us.
Welcome to Finance for Physicians, the show where we help physicians like you use money as a tool to live a great life. I'm your host, Daniel Wrenne, and I've spent the last decade advising physicians on their personal finances, with the mission to help them understand that taking control of their finances now means creating a future where they can practice medicine where, when, and how long they want to. What's up, everybody? I am super excited because I got my longtime buddy, Ryan Inman, joining me. And so welcome, Ryan. Thanks for coming on with me, buddy.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here, man.
Yeah, so we're going to have a little bit of a different game plan for today's show. So first of all, I have a pretty big update I'm excited to share. So we're making a little bit of a pivot, you could say, with the show. So first of all, I really enjoy the conversations like this. These podcasts are fun for me. I mean, this is the kind of thing I love talking about, in case you don't realize. And so it's been really fun to have these conversations with all of you guys listening. So first of all, I'm planning to continue that. I enjoy doing that. It's one of the things, it's one of my favorite parts of my day. So that's going to continue. But what's changing is we're going to be living in a different home, you could say, much bigger home. So today, that's why Ryan's joining me. He's joining me for the show. He's been, like I said, he's a buddy of mine. We've known each other. I don't know, how long's it been? Like 7 years, or it's longer than I can remember.
It's like over 10 now.
Oh, 10 years maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
A long time. And he's a fellow, physician finance guru, and he's going to be the host of a new podcast called Financial Fellowship. And so we're going to be joining Ryan for his Wednesday show. And so I'm excited to kind of throw that out to you guys. I wanted to also make sure and give a little bit of an intro to Ryan. So we're gonna kind of go through a couple discussion points with Ryan first, and then we're going to jump into the main topic we were planning to cover, which was talking about 529 plans, in particular for those of you guys that are maybe getting a late start. So, Ryan, thanks again for joining me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, excited.
Yeah. So anyway, I've known you for a while. I guess it's been 10 years. But for those who haven't met you or don't know you, give us a little rundown about you, and really, why did you decide to focus on the physician space with your work?
Yeah. So we met, I remember, at XYPN conference when I was first literally launching my financial planning practice. And I was going, you work with doctors. All my friends are doctors. I'm married to a doctor. Like, how are you doing this? Like, what's this like? And so I would credit some of the launch success to you on that. But like I said, I'm married to a doctor. My wife's a pediatric pulmonologist with the Navy. She's a civilian, but works here in San Diego at Balboa. We've been together since we were 18. So we went and met freshman year of college. We both went to University of San Diego, and all through college we dated. Then she went back to KU for med school. So of course I traveled every single month to go visit her because she was a little busy. And I was doing grad school, so it was a little lighter load than med school, as you can imagine. And then I convinced her, I had to twist her arm to move from Kansas to Southern California. It was real hard. Not at all. She wanted to get out of there and go to nice weather again.
To the perfect weather all year.
Yeah, we complain when it's 65. That's how bad it is here. So, as it's like snowing for you.
Tough life.
Yeah. And she did her residency there and then fellowship at UCSD. And, we have two amazing kids. I worked with, as Daniel said, a large amount of physicians. Specifically, I had a financial planning practice for over a decade called Physician Wealth Services. I've completely transitioned a few years ago, the practice actually over to Daniel, and we'll probably talk a little bit about that. I also at the time had a podcast called Financial Residency and a blog. And then my wife and I actually co-authored a book, Financial Residency,
Check it
that
out on
helps
Amazon.
people. Yeah, that helps people, physicians, put together a pretty basic financial plan, but it in a real simple, no jargon, real simple way that you can follow along. And as you go through the book, you can actually create a plan, which is pretty neat. So, um, took some time off once we transitioned the practice. As physicians probably understand this, I was very burnt out working 100-hour work weeks, and then had a death in the family, had my daughter get diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. My wife is also type 1 diabetic. So that was a big shock to us, as she was pretty small at the time. And now launching financial fellowship, coming back, like Daniel talked about, I love this stuff. This is pretty much what I live for, helping physicians with their financial literacy. I thought I was done with it, and it
He's
just
back.
brings you right back. So it's been a lot of fun, putting all the pieces together. And I'm really excited to have Daniel and the team, join me for a Wednesday show. So it'll be a very similar thing that you guys are all used to here with Daniel. So you'll hear a lot more of Daniel, and I'll help him kind of frame the conversations, and we're going to have some really good conversations around what physicians really need to hear as it relates to their financial literacy.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I know something we both have a passion for. So um, awesome. Well, I know we got a bunch of stuff to talk about besides this, but before we get into the main topic, anything else you want to throw out on your end?
No, I mean we've kind of talked a little bit about the history. I'm sure, as hopefully everyone who was listening right now, comes over and checks out the Financial Fellowship podcast. They're going to hear, unfortunately, probably a lot more of my story as I go, because as you and I both have the same no filter, things just start going, and we're just start educating, and we're going to bring a lot of real life examples into that. So
Yeah.
be prepared
Ryan does
to
not have a filter as well. Yes, that's one of the things I appreciate about him. So,
not at all.
uh, but anyway,
Sometimes it gets me in trouble.
every once in a while. So Ryan's going to be taking the lead today. Ryan gets to be the host. So, kick it over to you.
Yeah, I'm excited. So we're going to be talking about 529s today, and I kind of want to just set the picture real quick. It's conversations. I mean, we've had hundreds of times to get, individually, obviously with our clients at some point. Is they're sitting there going, I have a kid, they're 8, 9, 10 years old, right? I'm a physician or married a physician. The couples are sitting there and they're going, we are at finally a point that we need to start thinking about their college. We don't want them to take on a ton of debt, maybe like we did. How do we start? Are we behind? Like, what does this look like? And so we're to start the framing there, and then we'll, like we probably are going to do a million times going forward, just kind of unravel and unpack, and hopefully they get some good information from it.
Yeah, so it's like anything with finances. I would say it's never too late to start, and ideally today, sooner the better. You get started on something like this. The way things work, it's ideal if you go ahead and start that compounding. And so, when you have someone, I mean, that's still, well, I guess that's like still 10 years of savings, and that's 10 years of compounding potential and tax benefits to be able to get ahead on saving for something like education funding. And with a physician salary, higher compensation, a lot of times you can make up ground on these kind of things pretty quickly, but it will be, a pretty substantial commitment to fully fund it. If we're talking, especially if we're talking about like, my goal is to have my kid go to Harvard or something along those lines. But I guess where I would start the conversation first is around like how important it is, like what's the priority order? So like how important is funding your child's education in the grand scheme of all the things that are out there? whether it's spending money now versus saving for retirement versus, education. And then what type of school goal might you be thinking of, whether it's private or public? And that's going to dictate kind of how much emphasis. But just to kind of put it into perspective, if we're talking about, like I looked at some numbers before this, like if we're talking about, I use Transylvania University because it's a private school near us. My wife went there as well,
My
in
cousin went there
Kentucky.
actually.
Are you kidding?
Dead serious.
Transy in UK in Kentucky?
Yeah, and I
That's
had no
great.
idea that was a real place, just being sheltered on the West Coast. Until she said, "Hey, that's where I'm going." I was like, "Wait, what?" Yeah,
I mean that's the first person I probably ever talked to that like it was that I know somebody that went to Transy. So it's a
yeah, my
very
cousin.
small private school in Kentucky. And my wife lives in Lexington, which is the city Transy is in. So a lot of Lexington people go to it. But I mean it's a great school, but it's more expensive, as most private schools are. And so, with that type of school cost, I was running the numbers like if I'm a funded for a 9-year-old kid and I got, 10 years or so, you're probably looking at like 2,000 to 2,500 a month to like fully fund the whole shebang. So, I mean, it's a pretty big commitment, but the other thing is you don't have to go all in all at once. You can kind of take baby steps.
Yeah, I just always kind of check out University of San Diego. That's where both my wife and I went, and full like tuition, room and board is like $85,000 a year right now. Yeah, it was not that expensive when we went there, and she had a lot of credits that she pulled in. And she's significantly smarter than us. She was taking college classes like way before and did it the right way, whereas I did not do that. Um, but yeah, so I mean, fully funding something like, a $90,000 a year, like that is a massive commitment and almost impossible to do just through a 529 if you're starting 10 years late. But
Hmm.
like you said, physicians have higher ability to earn savings rate. But I think the most important thing that I'll just kind of push out a little bit is where is that in their goal planning, right? What's the most important thing to them? You don't just ignore all your other goals to then fund the 529 unless you say this is absolutely the most important thing for us. Sometimes I use the airplane analogy, right? Put on your mask and then put on your kids, right? You got to
Right.
save for your retirement. You need to pay down your debts. You need to do those type of things and then take care of your kids. But maybe that's more important than a vacation, right? Taking a big Hawaiian vacation or something every year. You'd rather forego that and pay for college, right?
Or maybe you're comfortable delaying your retirement for 5 years and accounting for
100%.
that.
That makes it way easier because it's 5 years more of savings, more of income, right? Like
Yeah,
all that.
that I mean that sometimes that's the direction you go. And
Yeah.
it's all good.
So
It's just about priorities.
exactly.
Let's take a quick break to talk about our firm, Rwenne Financial Planning. The goal of our podcast is to empower you to make better financial decisions. But sometimes the best financial decision you can make is to work with someone who understands your financial goals and has the expertise to keep you on track to reach them. That's where Rwenne Financial Planning comes in. We are a full service financial planning firm that works with over 400 physicians and their families across the country. We charge a transparent monthly flat fee for our services and offer virtual meetings you can take from anywhere. Best of all, you'll get to work with a team that specializes in working with physician families. So whether you're starting out and wondering how you'll balance your student loan payments and saving for a home, or you are an established physician trying to figure out how to pay for your kids' college and how much you need to save to reach financial freedom, we can help. I'll put a link in the show notes to schedule a no obligation meeting with one of our certified financial planners. Wrenne Financial Planning, LLC is a registered investment advisor. For more information about our firm, please visit wrennefinancial.com. That's WRENNE financial.com.
So if they're opening this account now and they're going, okay, Daniel, we should disclaimer, it's not financial advice, right?
Hmm.
But they're looking at it and saying like, well, what's the investment mix look like? Is it the same as my normal investments that I have? Is it different? Like, how would you kind of talk about the investments that they'd be doing inside of the 529?
When you have if you have sticking with a 9-year-old example, like if you have a 9-year-old, so you got 10 years left till you're gonna start taking out of the account. Like typically you'd probably want to like dial it down a little bit in terms of how much risk you're taking. So what I'm talking about is like how much, stocks you're investing in versus bonds. And so stocks are more aggressive, bonds are a way to dial it down and like flatten out the ups and downs. So when you have less time like that, so 10 years or so, typically you dial it down by, starting to add more bonds in it so that because that's not a long period of time in the grand scheme of things. And so you don't want to get caught in a situation where we have a pretty bad phase of the market and it really starts to put a kink in your goal. And so, like I said, typically we're going to dial it down a fair amount to have introduce more bonds so that it's not, negatively putting the goal at risk in case of like a downturn. I mean, that too is like some people are like, I'm good with pumping the gas the whole time. And, that's a choice and it's all good. But there will be more risk. So like, for example, my son's around that age where he's 10, 10 years till school. And so we're probably like, 30% bonds at this point, something like that, just because we're starting to introduce that as we get closer to it, it's going to be more and more bonds.
Yeah. And again, even just two planners talking, even though I'm not a planner anymore, I can't turn that part of my brain off. Different risk tolerances, different planning, different income levels, different net worths, right? Everything is different. So all of this is unique to that specific person, right? What works for Daniel does not work for me, does not work for you, that kind of thing. So when we were talking about making the show and talking about 529s, and then I realized that my son's 11 and he only has like 8 more years in the house, and I was like, oh, I got real depressed for a second. I was like, most of my time with him is gone. This stinks.
I know.
But then I was thinking about, we've got the ability to, we've been saving. Just again, planners, we plan. We've been saving for a long time, and there is an opportunity that maybe we don't use all his money in his 529, and that we let it continue going. And there's now with like the secure 2.0 kind of deal, like he can use some of those as Roth conversions at some point up to a limit and things. So we're just full aggressive. I'm like basically no bonds. I'm letting it go. And if we do have a 2008 crash, a 2020 crash, 2000 type crash, we're just going to stomach through it because we do have resources to, assist him outside of the 529. Yep. And so it's different, right? It's different planning. And there might be someone that says, I have no additional resources. We haven't even started, but I've got the ability to maybe super fund and add some more. So maybe we could talk about like ways to get a good amount of money in upfront and if they should look at doing that or not.
Yeah. So like, well, by the way, that doesn't surprise me about your 100% stocks. You're an aggressive guy. I mean, like you're good with taking risks. So I'm
good with risk.
Everybody's different.
Yeah.
Anyway, super funding is what Ryan's referring to. So you can like pile a bunch of money into a 529 if you really want to get aggressive with it. And so this can work well, like if you're super high income physician, for example, or if you have like a bunch of brokerage money already that you're like, I'd rather shelter it from tax than have it be taxed, obviously, for if it's going to be for education. So anyway, you can basically, so there's a amount you can gift to an individual, including your child, each year and really not have any tax consequences. So the number now this year is 19,000 per year per individual, and each spouse could do that. So the 529 rules allow you to basically take advantage of that gift limit and basically accelerate 5 years worth of it into 1 year. And so what that translates to is you can basically put in either 95,000 if you're single or 190 if you have both spouses into the 529 in 1 year, like to hyper fund it, which, that's fantastic if you're able to do. and you're going to use it for education because you get the most tax benefit.
And not to assume everyone is in the position that they can do that. You can get family help if that is of, a thing that is possible for you, that maybe grandparents can
That's
also
fantastic.
assist in that, right? So instead of, having it outside of this, if they were to give, there might be some other tax consequences around that, but if they can put it in a 529 and help that grow, now it grows tax free, and it can do a lot of benefit for the beneficiary,
Yeah,
being one of
grandparents,
your kids.
for sure, grandparents can fund it. Really, anybody can fund it. But, and that's a lot of times grandparents want to do those kinds of things. So, doesn't hurt to mention it to them. Be like, by the way, I got a 529. I tell grandparents, I'm like, let's like kind of like not do the plastic junk gifts, whatever toys. We're good with that. Like, let's do 529.
Yeah.
I'm
And then
also
what ends up happening is you get the plastic junk toys and the 529. So it
right.
works out
That's
like
what
this.
happens. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. That's basically what we've been doing. I tell my mom every year and my dad, like, the kids don't need anything. I know
Yeah.
you're going to buy them crap anyway, but how about we help them with college so then they can get on their
Very
feet and
practical.
start earning actual income and, do well. And Ruby's, my daughter's talking about going into dentistry. For some reason, she's obsessed with teeth. She's
Hmm.
always been obsessed. Is very excited. She was excited to get braces. She's excited to go get her
Wow.
teeth done. Like, it's a very interesting 9-year-old dynamic. And I'm like, oof, like, I was factoring college. I don't know about dental school.
Yeah, it's expensive. Yeah.
We might need that aggressive piece then if she continues down that road. So I mentioned the secure kind of 2.0
Yeah.
and the Roth kind of piece. So where that kind of comes in, I think, is if someone has a 529, they maybe super funded it, or they've had one and now they kind of say, well, my kid didn't need it. They got a scholarship, or we saved too much, right?
Hmm.
What kind of happens in that scenario, right? If there's more money left over in the 529 after that child has finished school.
Yeah. So you can now, with the new rules Ryan's hitting on, you can transfer up to the annual limits up to 35,000 to Roth IRA in the name of the beneficiary, which is a great kind of like backup option for 529s. There's a few other backup options, but that's one of the really best ones. Um, there's a few like, you know, caveats for that or qualifications you have to meet. The one that I was going to mention in particular for this scenario we're kind of talking about is like the 10-year-old example is like you have to have the account in place for 15 years. So like if you're listening to this and you're young, like you have young kids like below 9 and you aren't going to fund a 529, just open a 529. Get the account in place. The sooner the better, because that like starts that window. The account has to be open and in place for 15 years for that part of it. So if you have a 9-year-old, that's, I guess, 19, 20, 20, they're in their 20s before they can even start to do the Roth thing. So there's a couple other caveats besides that. But
Yeah, you can't fund it within the last 5 years.
yeah.
Right. So it prevents someone from opening an account, leaving it dormant, funding it with a bunch of money, and then moving it over. Right. It has that limit as well. Like I think it's $30,000 or $35,000 that you like has a bit. So it's not like you're going to funnel hundreds of thousands of dollars this way.
No, but
But
it
it
is
is
a
an
great.
option.
I kind of look at it like one of the first things they introduced. It was a really good backup option was the ability to use it for K through 12 private tuition, and then they increased that number. I think it's 20 a year. You ought to double check me on that one, but it's gotten increased recently, and then also they added the Roth option as well. And now they have this professional. You can use it for some like professional education type things, and so like the more things they add to that list, like the better I view the higher I view the 529 because it allows that flexibility. And I think the more confident you can be to like fund it for college, because you now have a lot more backup options.
Yeah, I when I was reading kind of all the rules and everything they've been adding, I immediately went to like, this becomes a backdoor Roth mechanism for a couple years for your child, right? So once they finish school and you've got some extra in the 529, they're earning, it's being seasoned for that, 15 years.
Yeah.
And let's say that they earn more than the I think it's like $170,000 you phase out for a Roth. Let's say they make, I don't know, 250. You could still now take this. It has no income issues at all. And I think this year is $7,000. So indexed, it might be 9 or 10,000, but you'll be able to do essentially backdoor Roths for them with this money. Right. So, I mean, that's a pretty unique, interesting thing. You can delay, you don't have to do it. You can change beneficiaries, right? Of course, if you have got multiple kids, you can do that. I don't know how that would actually work. And I don't think it's been tested of, then can you, still do this Roth piece or anything, or does it reset the time or any of that? So a lot of that's probably going to get worked out.
And then if your child, for example, is going to go to medical school and residency, like how many of you listening maxed out your Roth every single year of residency? Like that's hard. And so this can become like their mechanism for making sure they're able to, max out their Roth while they're in those low income years.
I mean, just as long as they have earned income, they can put it in. They can't put it in and then you also put money in, right? That it doesn't, it still hits the cap. But this becomes a really interesting tool that, can do it. And there's no reason to say that you can't just keep it open and assign it to their kids when that happens, right? It kind of becomes like a weird dynasty planning tool over time. So there's a lot of cool reasons to have a 529, to open it, to start funding it. It doesn't mean you have to super fund it, right? It's a pretty cool account as we are nerding out on an account, but it's a pretty neat account that you can get a lot of benefit from, and really your kids would benefit from.
Yeah. No. I could talk about the 529 for days. So we probably hit a good chunk of it for now. And so, Ryan, I just want to thank you for joining me today. I know we're going to do one more of these. And so we're going to be coming back for our, I guess, final show, which is crazy.
Immediately in my head, it's playing it's the final countdown.
Yeah. So yeah, make sure for you guys listening, make sure to subscribe to Financial Fellowship, and we're going to be rocking that out Wednesdays, right? We're going to do Wednesday shows. So yeah, y'all can catch us over there as well. So anyway, thanks for coming on, Ryan. We'll catch all you guys on the next show.
No guests or clients appearing on the podcast received any form of compensation for their appearance and obtained no other benefit from us. It should not be assumed that every client has had the same experience.